It was a warm Sunday evening here in the Big Apple. The wind was minimal, barely passing through my open window into my small, crappy excuse for an office. I was sitting at my desk finishing up on my current case. It was about the death of a young man whose mother had contacted me knowing that her son was murdered. After only a day of looking into it, it was fairly obvious the young man simply fell down his apartment stairs. I was about to call the poor mother, but received a call myself on my work phone. I answered it. "Campbell Investigations," I simply said. I had said that phrase almost 500 times, and the voice that answered it was mostly male. This time was no different. "Hi, is this Jonathan Campbell?" the man asked. "Campbell?" "Yes, it is," I responded. "Oh, good. My name is Matthew Monroe." Monroe cleared his throat. "Well, what can I do for you, Matthew?" My friend was murdered. Well, technically, he killed himself, but no, I won't be fooled. I can see straight through that bullshit." Oh, great. Another one of these super paranoid and grieving loved ones. I was really getting tired of these guys. I've gotten 3 of the same type of cases in the last month. Still, I try my best not to groan. "Oh, well, that's a pretty serious thing to say, Matthew. Tell me, what is your friend's name?" "His name was Dave Brownstein." Monroe's words startled me a little. See, it doesn't matter where you live here in this huge city. You'll have heard of Dave Brownstein. His death was on every television screen and front page of every newspaper. "I'm assuming you heard of him?" Monroe asked. Damn straight I heard of him. Yeah, I have. Why do you think he was murdered?" I asked, now fully curious. "Because Dave had no reason to kill himself. I know it." I sighed. "Okay, what else?" No, not over the phone. They could be listening." Are you shitting me? I was about to hang up since this guy sounded insane. Can we meet up? Tonight? Now, I was really about to hang up the phone. I don't do meetups with my clients. But then Monroe said something that convinced me to go. "I'll pay you $5,000 in cash if you show up, and that's only half of what I'm willing to pay you." 5,000? No one has ever paid me that much. So, reluctantly, I asked where to meet him. "Washington Square, half an hour," Monroe said before hanging up the phone for some reason. I started to get the feeling that this Matthew guy was treating this whole ordeal like some sort of crime movie. But I mean, $5,000. To me, that's worth it to listen to someone ramble on about how their friend was murdered by aliens or something. If you're wondering, yeah, someone has actually came to me before thinking their brother was kidnapped by green faceless aliens, but that's a story for another time. Half an hour later, I was sitting at a bench in Washington Square Park. The moon was now up, and the sky was that dark navy blue color. The park was relatively empty, save for a homeless guy with a really thick brown beard and ripped-up wife beater lying on the large fountain edge, fast asleep. I was taking a drag from my cigarette when I saw a 2016 Ford Fusion pull in front of the park, some tall kid getting out and walking into the park. I flicked my cigarette into a nearby trash can and stood up, the kid walking towards me. "You Campbell?" the kid asked. No, it's Campbell. But it's spelled never mind. Matt Monroe, we spoke on the phone earlier. I was shocked. I mean, the guy over the phone said like he was in his early 30s. This kid looked 19. Matt held his arm out, me shaking it. "If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?" "Oh, I'm 18. 18? This is literally a teenager. Also, you can call me Homer." "Homer?" I repeated. "Why would I call you Homer?" "Because when I was a little kid, my parents said I looked like Homer Simpson. I know what he's from." Matt, or Homer, or whatever the hell this kid's name is, turned to face the homeless man sleeping on the fountain. He then got red in the face before running over and pushing the bum into the fountain. The man quickly woke up, standing up, dripping wet. "What the hell?" I exclaimed. "He could be one of them," Matt yelled back. "One of who? What is this guy talking about?" The homeless bum jumped out of the fountain, running off out of the park. Matt turned around, acting like he just didn't push some guy into a fountain. "Sorry if that scared you, but we can't take any risks." "Risks? What is even going on?" "I'm about to tell you that, but first," Matt pulled out an envelope out of his back jean pocket. Presumably, that was my $5,000. "Here's your money," he said while handing it over to me. I opened it to check, and indeed, there were wads of $100 bills. I pocketed the money in my trench coat, getting ready for what was most likely going to be a load of bullshit. No, about Dave and his murder. Okay. How do you know he was even murdered? I thought it was a suicide. Matt scoffed. Suicide? Does that sound like anyone who's ever committed suicide before to you? Well, Matt Monroe wasn't wrong. Dave Brownstein's death was highly strange. See, the official report was that Dave Brownstein was sitting on the edge of his apartment building before he slit his neck open with a cooking knife. The cut was so deep and so wide that his head came clean off. His body fell backwards onto the roof while his head landed directly in front of the apartment doors, a puddle of blood forming under it. It was highly gruesome, which is why everyone in the city had been informed about it. The thing is, and the only reason I was still talking to Matt, was that it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like I said, the original NYPD report stated that Brownstein used a cooking knife to end his life, which made sense since he was reportedly a chef for a restaurant. However, no regular kitchen knife could cut his whole head off with just one try. Also, a rumor was spreading that a knife hadn't even been found on the roof or the sidewalk below. But I mean, why would the NYPD lie and try to cover up a murder? That's just not something they would do. Okay, so it wasn't a normal suicide, I started. But do you have any actual evidence that foul play was at hand? As a matter of fact, I do. I know the man who killed him. Jesus, was he serious? Alright, Matt. Who killed him? Our boss, Gary Danworth. Gary Danworth. I searched my brain just in case, but I'd never heard of anyone named Gary Danworth. You said he was your boss? That's correct. He owns a restaurant in Hell's Kitchen called Safur Freud. Now, I'm not bilingual, but enough high school French classes have taught me that Safur Freud means cold breath, an odd name for a restaurant. Alright, what do you work as again? I'm the janitor. Dave was the main cook. I know it was that son of a... Okay, calm down. Why do you think this Danworth guy killed Dave? Many reasons. 1, he hated him and his cooking, the last part I agree on. 2, Danworth was acting mighty suspicious the entire day before Dave died. And 3, I'm pretty sure he's part of a cult. That took me by surprise. I'm sorry, you're pretty sure he's part of a cult? Why do you suspect this? Because whenever I work overtime, I always catch him talking about rituals and sacrifices and weird crap like that to himself. Also, one time, I went into the closet in his office because I was feeling nosy, and I found a long black robe with some sort of white symbol on it. That was a lot to unpack. Killer bosses and cults? That's not really my specialty. I was going to tell Matt this, but he had already paid me half of $10,000. And plus, part of me was suspicious too. So, I gave the kid my best answer. Alright, Matt, I'll look into it. Homer! The kid interrupted. Is this guy serious? Look, kid, I'm not calling you home. That's when I realized that Matt wasn't the one who yelled out Homer. I spun around and saw a guy in a suit walking towards us. When he got close enough, I instantly recognized the man. His name was Nick Lancaster, an extremely popular television host for the show Investigating Conspiracies. Now, believe it or not, I'm not into any of the fake moon landings, Area 51, all that nonsense. It's not really my thing. The only reason I know who Lancaster is, it's because his show is one of the top 3 most watched television programs in America. Yeah, he's very popular. Which confused me because not only did I not expect him to come here, but also why. Matt walked past me, shaking Lancaster's hand. Nick, hi, thank God you came. It's my pleasure, Homer. Who is this? Lancaster turned to me. I shook his hand. This is Jonathan Campbell. He's a private investigator. Okay, first of all, it's Campbell, but second of all, what are you doing here, and what's with the cameramen walking towards us? 2 men with large cameras were jogging towards us, facing them at Matt, Lancaster, and I. Well, Mr. Campbell, these 2 are Sal and Sal. They're both named Sal? Yeah, I know, isn't it funny? No, look, I'm not being on your TV show thing. I put my hand on Matt's arm and pulled him aside, facing the 2 of us away from Sal and Sal. Did you seriously call Nick Lancaster here? Look, I have an actual job. I'm not being on his stupid TV show. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to be on it. But I am. What happened to Dave needs to be brought to the public's attention, and Nick's audience can do that. I wanted to strangle this kid. Once again, if it wasn't for the $5,000 or my curiosity, I definitely would have walked away by now. Is everything okay? Lancaster asked, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. Oh, God, look, you can do whatever the hell it is you actually do. Just keep me off the cameras, please. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just promise me something. Oh, good God. Fine, what do you need? Promise me that you'll keep me in the loop about what's going on. No, I'm not going to do that. Lancaster looked a little hurt by that. Have you ever seen an episode of my show? No, I haven't. It takes days to get information on cases like this. I mean, with a private investigator like you, my team and I could get so much info by tomorrow night. With you helping us, no, I'm not helping you with anything. Here, if you keep me in the loop, I'll give you some of the profits we make off of this episode. Damn, seriously? This day is just full of money surprises. Once again, I reluctantly agreed to those terms. So yeah, here I was, working with an 18-year-old janitor and a TV show host to investigate an alleged murder and maybe even a cult. However, if I knew where this case would have taken me, where I would have ended up, what I would end up finding out, I would have left on the spot and moved out of the country as well. Little did I know, this was much more, so much more, than a simple murder disguised as suicide. What was going to happen in the following weeks was practically biblical, and none of us would have expected any of it.